Welcome. We're back at Natural Health, here to do another health shop on Digestion Essentials. I hope you take a lot out of this. We got a lot of good information, and we're excited to share it, and hope you enjoy. So, again, we're going to talk about 3 different areas of digestion. Dr. Mark's going to start out with the nutrition side, and talking about digestion, nervous system, and food absorption. I'm Dr. Chip, and I will be talking about the nervous systems and digestion. And Eddie, with the emotional side, will talk about gratitude and how gratitude can help impact or influence positively digestion. So, without further ado, let's get Dr. Mark up here.
All right, good to see y'all again. Okay, got lots going on here tonight. This is one of my favorite topics because people don't realize how important digestion is. And one of the biggest problems we see in here is that people come in, and even people that are trying to eat good food, if the digestion is off, they won't absorb it. So we have to work on digestion a lot with people. Almost every patient that comes in has digestive problems, and they're not absorbing their food. So it's important we work on that. So we're going to start with some interesting food combination information. People don't really know anything about this one at all. This is like foreign to everybody, because what do we eat most of the time? Meat and potatoes. You've been grown up on meat and potatoes, or something like that. Meat and bread, sandwiches, pasta, pizza, all these things, and that's a terrible combination. The body doesn't like to mix your proteins and fats and starches and carbs in the same meal. It doesn't digest well that way. It uses the different pH products to digest your proteins and your fats and your carbs. So good combinations are proteins and vegetables, green vegetables, or you can have starch meals like potatoes and green vegetables, but you don't want to have meat and potatoes together in the same meal. They don't digest well together. And so what happens if you eat those kind of foods, you end up with a big blob in your stomach, a lot of bloating, a lot of problems there, and it passes through, the bacteria get a lot of gas. So a perfect example of that is chili. Chili has the high-carb bean in it, and if you have bean chili, a high-carb bean, and if you have the meat, the hamburger or whatever, the more, even the oilier or fatty cuts of meat, put them in the same meal, well, you'll have a lot of gas. And that is because you're not digesting the food. It gets all the way into the colon, and the bacteria rot it, and that's which makes the gas. So anybody who's having any kind of gas, belching, burping, gas production, you're not digesting. That's what that means in there. So food combining is a really important thing to know about. There's another part of food combining that's even more important, but you'll have to come into the office so we can explain it to you. It's pretty in-depth, but it has to do with insulin and how that works in the body. But that's a whole other topic. We'll talk about that one some other time. But we'll go ahead and go to the next slide here. The food combining guidelines. This is another one too. This is kind of just added information that people don't realize about foods and how foods don't mix well together. Couple of them here, that avocados combine well with foods except proteins and melons. Avocados are kind of a food all by themselves. They're kind of a fruit, but kind of an oil, like a lot of fat in there. They're good for you, but again, the food combining part is important. And then one at the bottom here, melons, eat alone or leave alone. They only really work well by themselves because of the sugar, there's the amount of water in there. If you're drinking a lot of water when you eat, you're diluting your stomach acid, so they don't work well with other foods. Different things to realize, because again, the digestion of the food is just as important as the food itself. You're not digesting the food, it doesn't matter what you eat. And the problem comes into that the heavier foods that have the good nutrition take a lot of digestive ability. So like your meats, those kind of things, cheeses, things that take more digestive ability. Something that doesn't take a lot of digestive ability is refined carbohydrates. If you refine carbohydrates, the body just sucks that in without even trying very hard. There's some the enzymes in the stomach and systems just cleave those, and they just absorb very quickly. And that's a problem when you're eating a combination meal. That's what we're all told to do. Eat a balanced diet, whatever that is. And so people are eating meat and potato, breads, maybe a vegetable, maybe not, and then a dessert. Well, and probably soda or something like that. What worse combination of foods is there? Especially if you're eating at a fast food restaurant. That's what you're getting. It's just that right there. So there's not much worse than that. There's no digestion there. There's no absorption of good nutrients there, and other problems that go along with that. We'll go to the next slide here. So we're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to get the digestive system to digest. Now this is on the nerve energy side of the body. We're looking at the autonomic nervous system, and we do a lot of work on the autonomic nervous system when we're doing our nutrition response testing technique, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But anyway, we do a lot of work on the autonomic nervous system because the autonomic nervous system is the nervous system part that's kind of the automatic system in your body. It has to do with all the things you don't think about that go on in the body and the control of that. So there's two parts of the system: the sympathetic system, which is your fight or flight system, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your relaxed, calm, and digest system. So if you're constantly in a state of excitement, you're running around all the time and you just sit down and grab a bite, that kind of a thing, well, your body never even has the time to get your digestive machinery working. And so if that doesn't happen, you're not going to digest. You're going to have upset stomach, you're going to have gas, belching, bloating, lend towards ulcers, all the kind of problems that goes along with being in that state of excitement. Your excitement increases the activity of the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, and decreases the activity of PSNS, or so that system, the PSNS, the parasympathetic nervous system, is a system that has to do with digestion. You want that system to be able to come up. Now, many people don't even have the ability for that system to come up because they're lacking minerals. And minerals are important for your body to be able to calm down. Also, parts of the B vitamin complex are important for that. So, really important there. You can go to the next slide. So digestion, if you increase activity of the PNS system, you have the routing for the blood to go to the internally for the absorption of nutrients, and it reduces the activity of the SNS. So you have to be calm. Now, the Mexican siesta is a great idea, where the Mexicans eat their food and they take a nap for an hour. And that's a great way of helping the body to be able to absorb and digest. Do Americans do that? Heavens no. We're racing down to the fast food joint, eating a big bunch of stuff that doesn't digest well, and right back to work into the stress that goes along with work, and that goes on there. And then we wonder why we have all these health problems. We'll go on to the next slide. So if you increase the PNS activity and decrease the SNS activity, and eating leads to good digestion. So increasing the SNS activity and decreasing the PNS activity and eating leads to indigestion, bloating, the things we just talked about, vomiting, and very little absorption. Again, as we talked about there, that if you're sitting or if you're trying to eat in a state of excitement, your body does not do well that way, and everybody pretty much knows that. I mean, you get upset stomach. You can't swallow good sometimes. So it's really important to take your time when you eat. If you're going to eat, take the time to do it correctly and just relax. And don't watch the news. That winds everybody up. Listen to the calm music. Don't have the kids screaming if you can keep from it. That kind of stuff. Try to be calm when you eat. Good. So that about winds it up for me tonight. I'm going to come back a little later. We'll talk about nutrition response testing, which is a great way for us to find out the reasons behind what's going on here. And so up next is Dr. Chip, as you saw there. So we'll let Dr. Chip take over. See you later.
All right, we're back. Okay, so I want to talk about the nervous system, really the nervous systems. So the nervous systems, there's the central nervous system, which is comprised of your brain and spinal cord. And so that one is the one that controls and coordinates all the other systems. So that's important, again, when you're stressed out, when you're having these issues, this one is controlling. So if you have, your thoughts are on your mind, you're thinking about different things, you're getting stressed out, that's turning on that autonomic nervous system that Dr. Mark was just talking about. And so, again, the peripheral nervous system is what the autonomic nervous system and the muscular system, the voluntary system. So, again, we have a voluntary system where I'm moving my arms like this, and I can control this very well, very easy. But the autonomic nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system, it tenses your muscles up without you even trying. So I know during the day, sometimes a lot of people, they feel like they're tight, their shoulders are tight, their neck's tight, but what's causing that is not that they're actually holding their shoulders up, it's because they're getting tense from these different thought patterns, these different things that's going on throughout their day, and they're doing that automatically. Again, that's more because they feel stressed, they feel that something is kind of attacking them in a sense, kind of speaking from an evolutionary aspect. But the parasympathetic works the opposite. It is the body's ability to rest and digest, like Dr. Mark said. So we're not even controlling any of the digestive systems by our thinking. Something else is doing that for us, and that is the autonomic nervous system. It helps us protect us in cases of stress, and helps relax us in cases of being able to digest or go to the bathroom or things that you need to relax in order to be able to do properly. So I copied Dr. Mark's slide, so I just kind of cheated there a little bit. But so again, going back to the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So the fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system, we can think of as you're tensed up. So again, when you want to run away from the tiger or the cheetah, or you're trying to get away from something else that's in your life that's not the tiger, but could be an enemy or whatever have you, or something's on your mind a lot, your muscles tighten up because the blood is getting shunted from your core to those muscles in order to attack, to run away into your bigger muscles, your legs and your arms, so that you're able to move. You can either fight or you can flee away. The parasympathetic, again, brings the blood back into the core, and so, again, your heart, your digestive system, all those things that help the body kind of help with food assimilation and, again, get everything back out there. And so that you can't do that when the tiger's chasing you. You wouldn't be sitting down just enjoying your time and saying, oh, there's a tiger, but I have a meal here, so I'm going to enjoy this rather than the tiger going to eat me in 2 seconds. No, that's just not very intelligent for the body to do that. And so we've evolved and we've adapted a lot over time. And again, the nervous system is always helping us in a good way. So we'll talk about how the central nervous system plays a part on the parasympathetic. And so again, if you're having those stressful thoughts through the brain, it sends those signals down from the brain to the spinal cord and out to the periphery. And that periphery is it has your parasympathetic nervous system in it. And so again, the spinal cord to those organs. And so again, it's always good to, again, like Dr. Mark said, is you want to calm yourself. You want to take 5 minutes in order for you to have a good meal, have good digestion before you can even eat the food. And again, too, is chiropractically, if you adjust, or we're kind of thinking about the spinal nerves, if we have kind of interference or some problems in it's called the thoracic area, but your mid-back, upper back, lower back there, those nerves directly go to the organs of the digestive system. And so it's important to have good spine mobility and to really be able to move around and good spinal hygiene in a sense. So, surprise, we have another brain in our gut. There's research has been shown that there is actually an actual brain center or a neural network in your gut. And so why this is important is that if your digestion is off, if you're not eating the proper foods, if you're eating too much sugar per se, or you're doing things that are stressing out your gut, that directly that can impact the brain. And so again, people that have mental issues or some things that seem like they're stressed out a lot, their digestion could be off, and their gut brain is actually affecting their brain so that they can't think properly, they can't perform and do things that they want to do. And so the the nerve directly communicating there is the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is it's called the wanderer nerve, but it is the longest cranial nerve in your body, and so that's the direct influence from the gut to the brain. And so that's why it's so important for gut health, is that if that's not well, then your brain has a hard time to process anything. And then again, a side note is that 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut. And serotonin is just a neurotransmitter that is a brain, so neuro-brain transmitter transmitting and the signals around your body. That's important because serotonin is more of your mood and relaxation. And so if your gut is not well, then you could even have bad sleep or bad mood problems based on your gut health. So good topic there, good tip. So again, the nervous system being the conductor, the brain and spinal cord being the one that controls and coordinates everything. So it's always important just realizing that when you're eating, when you're doing anything in life, making sure to really hone in on what you're thinking about. The brain is so important. It's influencing and directing everything in your body. And so it's always important to kind of stay calm while you're eating. Again, what Dr. Mark said is rest. Stop going so fast. Take time to eat. Spend time with your family eating. Prepare your meals. Preparing your meals is just as important because you're getting the smells in. Your body is sensing all these foods and it's preparing your digestive tract. That's not just the gut. It's the mouth, the esophagus, all the glands and all that, the hormones, helping you to better able to digest the food when you eat it. And so that's very important. Even looking at food can stimulate the glands and hormones to produce what's needed for digestion. So I think that is it for me. I'll pass it on to Edward here, and he'll take gratitude.
All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about gratitude and how I kind of approach this emotional aspect of really thankfulness. Gratitude, if we kind of look at just the definition itself, I mean, it's the quality of being thankful and the readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. But when I look at emotions, I look at a different lens that a lot of people don't look at, because I look at emotions more of as a energy standpoint of things. So I dive in quantum physics quite a bit when I look at a lot of this emotional stuff. And the great guy named Albert Einstein pretty much stated that everything is energy. And really what happens when we kind of talk about quantum physics, or the energy that really combines all of us together, is if we match the frequency of what we're actually wanting in life, then it's going to come to us. And the beautiful thing about this, it is not philosophy anymore. Now, this is backed up science that has been going on for decades and decades. So if we put that same philosophy, or I guess now physics and science to it, to gratitude, we can find out that the same frequency at what gratitude and love are resonating at are roughly the same exact things. So we can kind of state that, when we feel this thankfulness, when we say, thank you, I mean, just something really quick. I mean, they'll certainly give you that vibrational resonance to the things that you're wanting to bring back into your life. But really, if you dive into it and you just say, thank you, like you really get into it and love that feeling, if you give that feeling much more power for about the meal that you're going to have or anything in life, then you'll start bringing a lot more of that gratitude or that love continuously back into your life. And this is the beautiful thing of where the subconscious mind comes back in, because remember, the subconscious mind works on habits. So if we keep this habit of giving this unconditional love or giving this gratitude to the things throughout the daily lives and really hone into that feeling, we can find ourselves bringing much more quality emotions back into life. And a great way to start that is with digestion, because Dr. Chip and Dr. Mark is saying it. If you truly hone in and be so grateful that you are able to sit and eat something prepared for you to deliver you more energy to survive more in life, then you really get that concept behind it. A lot of the emotions that we use on a day-to-day basis could possibly be throwing us out, causing us stress, which we can always bring back to being more grateful and thankful to even having that meal in the first place. And gratitude is now researching that it can even lower your stress levels and put you more in that parasympathetic ease, or that rest and digest. So, I mean, a lot of cultures have been doing it, but we're always give grace and thanks before a meal. Now the science is backing it up, saying it's really good for our digestion as well. And again, we're looking at, we aren't really at like what we actually eat, because we can eat all kinds of things, but if we're not digesting it and we're not actually assimilating it and using it for our body to rebuild, then we're pretty much just kind of wasting a lot of our money as we pertain it to buying the foods if we're not in a relaxed state, we're not thankful and grateful. So we want to make it sure that we want to get as much as we can at that present moment with our food that we're having on a day-to-day basis. So digestion is pretty much the energy of assimilation. And my last question for you is, when you're eating, are you actually optimizing your absorption rate of that food? Are you truly present in that moment, so grateful that you have this prepared meal in front of you? Or is it just another meal? Or you just constantly let's just eat so I can go watch my Netflix film? But if you really hone into how great this whole meal is, you can really get so much more out of it. You can absorb much more from a digestion standpoint, even your subconscious standpoint, that you'll just keep bringing these really good meals with your family and really get all this really good meals in to get and keep going through your whole subconscious mind. So that's all I have for this moment. For this part, we talked about today with Dr. Mark. He talked a little bit about digestion, the nervous system, and how we can absorb that food. Dr. Chip talked about the nervous system as well as digestion, and I touched a little bit on gratitude. Up next, we're going to go back to Dr. Mark and do the nutrition response testing part of the health shop.
Great. Yes, thanks, Eddie. So we're just going to kind of run through how I look at helping patients deal with this. Now, I mean, Dr. Chip has his diagnosis too. We have examining patients to figure out the nerve side. Eddie has his way of helping patients with the emotional side. Well, I have this presentation already made up, so we're going to do this one. This is nutrition response testing, talking about that. A way that we can ask the body, what does it need nutritionally? What should we be working on in foods and things, and how to check on digestion there too. So if you come to one of our health shops, we have a whole packet we call it a goodie bag of handouts. So I'm going to run through these two as I go through the presentation. The first one being myths and truths about nutrition. And so if you're trying to learn more about health and things out there, there's a lot of myths out there. There's a lot of untruths. There's a lot of advertising, just plain old marketing, basically some lies. Just information that's not really what you need to know, because it doesn't really help. So a couple of these, I'm going to give you some examples here, so you kind of know what we're doing. So this is how we look in our office about vegetarianism. We help patients become vegetarian at the beginning, and then work on other things because that's easier to absorb. So this is the myth that vegetarianism is healthy, which it is at the beginning, but the actual truth is the annual all-cause death rate of vegetarian men is slightly more than a non-vegetarian men, and the all-cause death rate of vegetarian women is significantly more than that of non-vegetarian women. So the idea there is that the vegetarian is great to start with, but it doesn't give you essential amino acids and essential fatty acids the body needs to be really healthy. Now, if you start coming from the standard American diet, which is junk food and all that kind of stuff, and become vegetarian, you're doing a definite step to the better. Vegetarian and vegetables do a lot of great work at detoxifying the body. The fiber helps to clean the bowel, all kinds of things. That works great for a couple of years, but then we have to start introducing more of the proteins and fats to be really healthy, and we help patients work with that over time. This is one, too, that many people have bought into for years. To avoid heart disease, we should use margarine instead of butter. And the truth is margarine eaters have twice the rate of heart disease as butter eaters. Why is that? Well, because margarine is 2 steps away from plastic. It's something that never was really meant to be put into the body. And actually, believe it or not, butter is a very high quality food, eaten in the right combination. Now, if you have butter on your meat or whatever, you're adding some good fats there. That works out great. But you put butter on a cinnamon roll, it's not very good for you. So it's a thing where you have to look at what foods you're getting into, how the body absorbs it, digestion involved there. The myth that beef causes colon cancer, we're hearing a lot about this, and if you look at the research that they're getting this from, it's very anecdotal. It's very just stories from people. And the actual truth is that Argentina, with higher beef consumption, has low rates of colon cancer than U.S. Mormons, which have a lower rate of colon cancer than the vegetarian Seventh-day Adventists. So again, it's not the meat that's the cause, it's the body's ability to digest and absorb it. Meat is a very nutrient-dense food. And so if you're getting good quality meats and you can absorb it, it's very good for you. But if you're not absorbing it or not digesting it, it becomes a problem. And again, if you're eating meat and potatoes, the same meal, well then, it's a big blob in there and it's not digesting, you're not absorbing it. So another handout here, our health, what exactly is the problem? So I'm going to read the first couple of paragraphs here, very enlightening. We have drifted into the deplorable position of national malnutrition quite inadvertently. It is the result of scientific research with the objective of finding the best ways to create foods that are non-perishable, that can be made by mass production methods at central factories, and distributed so cheap that they can sweep all local competition from the market. Then, after it develops a suspicion that these quote-unquote foods are inadequate to support life, modern advertising steps in to propagandize the people and believing there's nothing wrong with them. They are the products of scientific research intended to produce a food that is less predicted to value, and the confused public is totally unable to arrive at any conclusion of fact and continues to blindly buy the rubbish that is killing them off years ahead of their time. Now, this is written by Dr. Royal Lee, and Dr. Royal Lee is the inventor of most of all the standard process nutrition line that we work with here. Written about 90 years ago now. This was before the fast food places, the ice cream parlors, the donut shops. This is done before that, so they were having problems way back, and he was actually educated as an engineer and was having and his mom was having problems, health problems, and some kids that he knew were having a lot of dental issues, and a friend of his talked him into becoming a dentist so that he could understand how this stuff worked. And this was really coming from, at this time, the introduction of white flour and white sugar, much more available to the population, what was going on with that. So there's a lot of good history to be involved with there. We have a handout on the 146 Reasons Why Sugar is Ruining Your Health by Dr. Nancy Appleton, PhD. Basically, just a list of all the degenerative diseases that mankind suffers. It's really interesting stuff. So let's go ahead and go to our next slide. If we look at this triangle kind of as a microcosm of the human body, the three corners of the triangle are organ dysfunction, disease, and nutritional deficiencies. Now, the disease we're talking about here is any degenerative type disease. So what that would mean is, almost all the diseases are degenerative diseases. So, for instance, cardiovascular disease is a degeneration of the cardiovascular system. Diabetes is a degeneration of the sugar handling system. Cancer, degeneration of the immune system. So all these degenerative diseases. So the thing goes here, if you have the triangles with the same angles on each side, the more or the bigger that one angle is, the more they all have to be. So the more organ dysfunction you have, the more disease you have, the more nutritional deficiency you have, the more organ dysfunction you have, it becomes this big spiral, big negative spiral that we want to try to break. And of course, how we do that in here with nutrition response testing is by getting into the nutritional deficiency side and breaking that side of the triangle. So a few more handouts here. This is sugar's many disguises. I think there's 71 different names now for sugar and processed foods. So people that think they're trying to get away from sugar and any kind of processed foods, usually there's 3 or 4 or 5 other names in there. So it's really important to know that list if you're looking at labels. The 3 tastes, the body has a taste for sugar, salt, and fats. This is brought into us evolutionarily because of those are the things that the body needs to be able to survive a famine: sugar, salt, and fats. So then that doesn't mean you can live well, it just means that's what you can get by with. So the manufacturers know how to use that against us, and they will make foods that are either high in sugar, high in salt, or high in fats. So for instance, if you're trying to buy a low-fat food, it's going to be high in sugar and salt because you won't want it. It doesn't taste good. So the body, they know how to use that against us. And there's also a really good article to watch, or a video to watch, called "Is Sugar Toxic?" on YouTube. And it's the guy they interview there is Dr. Robert Lustig. He has an MD who has a lot of good information on sugars and things. Goes into biochemistry, has his own YouTube channel, Dr. Robert Lustig. So good information there. So we'll go to the next slide. So if you put sugar on the top of this, and now we're talking about white refined sugar here, So it's just a matter that white refined sugars and so much out there. If you look at, again, the food labels, anything, but even, breads break down into sugar, grains, cereals all break down into sugar. Most of the cereals have more refined sugar on them. A lot of these foods we're getting into turn into sugar. I'm amazed at the day I had a diabetic patient come in, and she was told by her dietitians to have oatmeal every day for breakfast because it was heart healthy. Well, a diabetic should never have oatmeal every morning for breakfast. Start the day with a whole pile of sugar, but that's what was told. So it was very interesting to me. So anyway, if you have this triangle here, and you have more organ dysfunction, the body craves more sugar, it wants more energy, more nutritional deficiency, just a big negative spiral. We're going to break that. So how do we do that? Well, next slide is we go and use our nutrition response testing technique to figure out what does that body need to help it to be well, to help it to be healthy. Nutrition response testing works with an arm strength test, muscle testing, and so I'm going to have Dr. Chip come up, and I'm going to demonstrate that on him right away. So if we're doing our arm strength test, we're going to test the arm, and it's normally strong, which is great, relax the arm. So it works on the order of hypothermia, the principle of hypothermia, the arm strength testing. So, for instance, how this works is if we're going, you decide to go ice skating, you go out on the pond, and it's icy, you go out there and you fall in. Well, you want to get out and not freeze to death, so you try to get back to the house. Well, the body will sacrifice the fingers and toes, the appendages, which is called frostbite, to save the core. It wants to keep all the organs alive, so it'll sacrifice the appendages. So if we're doing a check here, and the arm is strong, now if I irritate, say for instance, the sympathetic nervous system above the heart, that reflex to the heart, and the heart is a weak area, the body will pull the energy out of that arm to support that heart. So when I push the arm and it goes weak, we know the heart is weak. We know there's an energy problem there. So then if I know of a certain nutrition, this one called Cardio Plus, which is a food, our whole food combination from Standard Process that we use to strengthen the heart muscle up, the energy of this food we introduce into the body's energy field, and if I put that on the body and then check that heart again and the arm goes strong, we know then that this food will help that problem. So that way we can figure out what does that body need to be well, to be healthy. And of course it becomes a lot more complicated than that, but that's the simple gist of the hypothermia, the principle behind how all this works. Good job. Thank you very much. So we've been in practice here for 38 years, and we have done blood tests, urine analysis, hair analysis, salivary testing, those things. And those are great for certain things. They'll show up disease processes and things, but they're not good so much for nutritional needs for what that body needs. Now, even the medical people are looking at now vitamin D, looking at folic acid, vitamin B12, so these individual things, but that doesn't give you what the food is. What should you get? You should get these vitamins in food, not as an individual synthetic vitamin that you'll find at some of the places, the retail stores. So we want to get the body, the whole food into the body so the body becomes healthy, and that's what we can find with a nutrition response testing technique. A couple more handouts. This is another handout from a testimonial page from patients that we've seen before that have had all kind of good results. But basically, any type of disease process that you can think of, we've had good results with those because, again, we're getting to underlying causes. We're not working on symptom relief with medication. Again, nothing wrong with medication for symptom relief, but also we've got to look at what is causing the problem underlying. And so really important there. I hand out nutrition response testing, which explains a little bit more about what we do here. We do work with patients on their blood tests and their medical tests. So, this one is pretty easy. This one is talking about your vitamin D level that we increase with this patient without even giving them vitamin D, just getting their diets online and getting them to absorb good fats and oils, which that's where vitamin D in a food source is. Vitamin D is an oil type of vitamin, so it's in your natural good fats. The A1C came down from an 8.0 to a 6.6, and then we're headed to lower, but that was a good start. Again, just getting the diets and things figured out. If you come to one of our health shops, we have the public education workshop screening form that you can fill out and get a free initial screening. So we'll do this for free just to show you what we can do. So come to our health shops. The rest of us, we're happy to talk to you about what we can do to help you to be healthy. Not just pain-free, not just get by in life, but to actually have vibrant health. Be healthy, be able to do what you want to do, chase your grandkids, go ride bikes, do the things you like to do. But it's really important there to enjoy life. And while we're into this slide, what we're doing when we do our nutrition response testing technique is we're designing a clinical nutrition approach for that patient. Designed means it's very personal for that patient, only what that patient needs. And what clinical means that it's going to work. Again, we don't care what it is as long as it works. People even bring in grocery bags full of vitamins for us to check. And the process there is, or thought is, if those are working so well, why are you in here for? So we help those patients to go through what they're taking. If anything is working for them, that's great. They can keep taking those. But otherwise, we're getting away and basically try to save people money on buying all these vitamins and minerals. Most of them are synthetic anyway, and not looking at absorption. What you put in your mouth is not going through your body all the time. Again, we're back to this whole thing of digestion, why that's so important. We have a book list here, some books to look at if you want more information, some websites. The westonprice.org website is a great place to find organic information about organic eating, organic growing. Good place there. There's a video list here. We have videos that you can get on YouTube and Netflix, or don't cost, but a lot of good information there. The New Childhood in America. We all know that the kids are having more problems. The 1 in 3 is overweight, 1 in 6 has learning disabilities, ADD is up, ADHD, autism is higher and higher, asthma, food allergies, seizures now. All these problems are getting worse and worse. And again, because of the diets. And I can't always, it's not the parents that really all have to give all the blame. They're just doing what they're told. For instance, the FDA's triangle with grains at the top, well, that's all sugar. I mean, you have to look at what we're being told. And so, very interesting there. Let's go to the last slide. So when we're doing our nutritional checking, we're looking at overall health. We're trying to get the body back to a vibrant state of health. We're not going to turn you into a 16-year-old or a Navy SEAL. It's not like that. We're getting your body to the best of its ability. And so we want the patient to be vibrant again, enjoying life, and not having to wait till they have a disease process to go get medical treatment on. That's not a very good way to be healthy and alive. And the things we're doing here are just safe and natural. We're just doing food. We're just using food to help the body to be healthy and helping the patient to be able to digest them correctly, and then getting them away from bad dietary choices. So it's just all natural, easy to do, nothing. The worst thing that can happen in our office is nothing, and that never happens because people always get better. We have a lot of success stories to talk about, pictures on the walls, things we help patients with. So the last thing I'm just going to talk about here quickly is my diet recommendations. And our basic recommendations is really simple. We have patients doing proteins in the morning, salads for lunch, and a protein vegetable for evening. That's it. We don't do a lot of carb counting or grams of carbs and different things, that kind of stuff. We're just trying to get them to eat a good diet, a good food, getting onto more vegetables, getting away from all the processed sugars and junk. And that's easier said than done. A lot of times people will go to a medical checkup and they say, we just need to lose some weight and stop eating sugar. Well, sugar is a drug. It's very addictive to the body. It's very hard to get off of. And we have special ways that we use to help patients to get away from eating all that sugar. That is our main part there. A couple rules we have to follow. Keep away from white flour and white sugar. I mean, you probably figured that out by now. And again, the food combining, not eating your proteins and fats. At the same time, eat carbs and starches. And then our basic programs where I talk about the proteins, the salads, and the protein and vegetable for evening. The last one here, last sentence I'll read through. Many of our eating habits have been trained into us for generations. For example, Grandma was a good baker, Mom was a great baker, so every Christmas we eat 10 pounds of fudge, somehow catch the flu in January, and have a history of diabetes and heart disease in our family. So that's looking at more of what we call epigenetics, the study of what is driving your genes to produce certain symptoms. Your genes are your blueprint. They're just a blueprint. They will have really no control of anything. But it's your environment and lifestyle that controls which genes turn on and off. So if you can control your environment and your diet, you can keep the problems, the problem genes from becoming problems. You'll probably notice in certain families have problems with heart disease, certain families have problems with cancer, certain families have problems with diabetes. But there's just other things that go on there, and you can control this. So it's not just that you have a gene and you're just going to have this and something to do about it. No, you have a lot of control over it, and we help patients with that every day. So very interesting stuff there. I think that's about all I'm going to go over tonight. We sure would love to see you at these healthcare classes, at these health shops. Do you want to finish up? Okay, good. So I'm going to turn it back over to Eddie. He's going to kind of finish it up here. And have any questions, give us a call. Make sure and love us and like us and thumb us up and all that good stuff. Here's Eddie.
All right, so our next health shop, going with digestion still, is we're going to do a cooking show. Just because we kind of talked a little bit that we're always kind of in this hurry-up society, but we don't really have a whole lot of time to actually sit down. Well, I think it comes down to haven't really had a whole lot of time to actually look up other ways of cooking. So we have plenty of great ways of cooking. We just got to find a great way that fits with your family. So I'm going to do a cooking show next week to actually demonstrate various ways of doing cooking that is very, very simple, but yet follows all of our kind of combining rules. Just make sure that we can kind of utilize the whole situation by cooking, but also having that time to sit down with our family and enjoy the meal. So kind of our last one. So I want to thank you so much, giving you so much gratitude for being here tonight and also watching our rewind, is to follow us. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. We're at Natural Health Quincy, Illinois on Instagram and Facebook. Please share and like us. Kind of help us out, kind of spread this word of natural health. And also we'll have all of our recordings on YouTube as well as Brighteon. And then you can also come here. Our health shops are every Monday at 6 o'clock. We'd love for you to come for it. We're at 2000 Jefferson in Quincy, Illinois. Our number is 217-228-2040. And once again, thank you for being here this evening. Have a great night.